the same old text dot. For money to build more roads instead of trying to come up with the alternatives. It's just the same.
Really interesting.
Same old text
Oh,
dot.
and strong town.
For money.
I'll send you a link.
Listen to some of their stuff, but.
It's very interesting.
Yeah. I heard to hear that.
And it's current, like current, and it's mainly with Austin, but
Same mentality. There's never any other. You know. But San Antonio, Dallas, Fort Worth, any kind of mass transit. There's existing railways, just not every. Some of it's running on by. It's right there. It's just a big thing. Realize. Wow. It's just. It's just guys. It's like my grandmother's house. Beautiful place, the South Wall.
Yeah.
A few acres. When they first built the interstate, it was down at the bottom of the hill.
Democracy without.
Oh, that was great. Then
You don't know what you're
back
voting on.
later,
You don't know what you're
by the way, then you access roads and you come out to your backyard. You know, so you got. It's the same thing. It's gonna happen over and over again because we're not doing anything different.
You know, and I know this isn't the interstate, but have you been Old Waco Road going from like 2305 to Belton? That, and they're expanding that road, you know, and it's like.
Looking for jobs. He's working a job.
And it's like smart towns talks about what you do is you bring in more people. Oh, there's a road.
School have.
You're not there. Instead of.
You're right.
I just sat there with a. I don't know what's going to happen. The whole time they were presenting, I just wanted to tell them.
Yes.
When I thought about it, I'm like, what's the time?
And it was like sitting back and watching it.
Yes.
Not succeed, but it's not my nature.
Well,
I've tried, we've tried. Well, there's solutions there. But we get them. Definitely can't come in. We've seen them. Alone.
no, it can't. It's got to have local buy-in. And Temple's got all this money and they think, well, I'm going to look really good.
Yes, there is a way.
I don't want to impugn their motives because I think most of their motives are good.
Okay, I do too. I really do.
But I just think the whole idea, I don't think zero tolerance policy will work.
We were supporting a program, even she ran back when you knew someone really. We get those money. Let's stay home. Sometimes we're just trying to get to that.
We had a whole. Test. We on? Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
I don't think it's on. Test. Test.
Breaker.
Test. Test. Hello. Hello. Yeah, we're not walking in the last second.
30
Give them
minutes.
5 minutes for you to find some entertainment.
You got to turn it.
Some things never change.
Turn it on.
Yeah.
Is it on? Is it turned on? Is it turned on?
Why does it have to-
Test. All right, so we will record it or we won't, but I can talk loud.
You go.
Now it's on? Now you can hear me. Okay, now I don't have to talk loud. I usually talk loud anyway, just to amplify voice, so. Welcome, now we're a little tinny. Welcome to, let's see, today is Tuesday, April 23rd, the 23rd. Our council meeting, we're going to get started here in just a second, but before we do, council member Wayne Carpenter will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Amy Casey will lead us in the Texas Pledge, and Craig Pearson will give us lead us in an invocation. Please rise.
Please join me in we pledge allegiance to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. Pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please join me in prayer. Father God, we come to you in Jesus' name. Father, we're so thankful for your blessings and protections of us. We're thankful for the rain that you have sent, that the aquifers are filling, and Father, may it continue if it be your will. Now, Father, we're here to do the business of the city for the good of the people. And Lord, it's our desire that we do it and that the results and all bring you honor and glory, both the process and the product. May it be so in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right, we'll call it to order 5:32. The first item on the agenda is public comments. And I've got at least one that's stated for public comments. That's Margaret and Robert from Eldred's Nursery. If they would like to, now's your chance to tell us what's on your mind.
Informally, as you can tell. Excuse me. My name is Margaret Chadwick. And
I'm Rob Chadwick.
we're here on a very informal basis this evening, and hence the dress. We wanted to make sure that first of all, we said thank you. Eldred's Nursery has been a part and will continue to be a part of the beautification project. That's an ongoing project. Is our hope that as we move forward with you, we're able to take care of the things and make downtown Belton beautiful, as well as other parts of Belton. For those that are not aware, crazily, a little more than 7 years ago, said to my husband, I think we need to buy a nursery. It's available. I think we need to support individuals who have disabilities with something in this community to be able to make sure that their parents, as they move forward and they're no longer eligible for programming through the schools, to have something available. There was nothing in Bell County. We're not even talking about just Belton. We're talking about Bell County. There have been some new initiatives in the recent past, but not everything is truly accepted in the community the way you all and the people in the community have accepted us. And we're very, very pleased, and we want you to know our sincere thanks for that. We had no idea how to run a nursery. All my degrees are in early childhood, human growth and development, special education, and stepping out and saying we're going to do this was just an absolutely crazy thing to do. However, if you really know us well, you know that that's something that we do often. So anyway, moving on. It started initially with the Downtown Belton Alliance, who asked us to do some pots downtown. It came about that there were conversations with James Grant, who has been extremely helpful with us and a one person to work with, that there was a combination of effort, and then the fortification of downtown Belton came about. And so we're working with both you and the Downtown Belton Alliance to make sure that Belton is seen as a viable community for tourists to come and see, for members of this community to be a part of and go downtown and see beauty. We haven't even begun to work on that. We're hoping that we're able to continue that, and that what you're seeing is a commitment on our part to be a part of this community in making it beautiful. This week, in fact, we're starting to put in some new trees downtown. We've got 2 crepe myrtles in your pots going in on Central, right off the new building that's being constructed, and then the bank. And then down the way in front of the title company, we've got a Texas mountain laurel going in. So we're trying to make sure that what we're doing and presenting downtown at this point is going to be something that is a part of the Texas landscape and will enrich and encourage other people to go downtown and see some of the things that that can make Belton and Texas more beautiful. But it goes beyond a big thanks, because I feel that we're not even scratching the surface. Belton is a very unique place. And when Robert and I went to the opening station of the Marek Smith Center at UMHB, we sat next to the person who offered the prayer before the luncheon. And his question was, we've never been any place that fosters the work with people with disabilities the way Belton has. It's just amazing to us. What do you think is a part of that whole process, that mindset that we should be concerned about people in our community and making them a part of our community, giving them something to do, giving them a reason to get up in the morning and having something to do? And my answer was, there are some truly dedicated people in this community who are concerned about the respect for all people. And it's amazing the things that are happening around us. And sometimes we know about them. Sometimes they're advertised. Sometimes there's collaborative efforts and so forth. But I think that it's important to take a look at what's going on in Belton, to know about what's going on in Belton that perhaps the city council doesn't know about. Perhaps we need to look at demographics. Well, a little over 7 years ago in Bell County, we were looking at the demographics as we set up this nursery. There were over 1,500 people with disabilities in this county. And that was a rough estimate. With the number of people that have moved into Belton now, and I anticipate are going to into Belton in the future, that we really need to take a look at those demographics and what the opportunities can be. First point, thank you. Demographics. Second point. Third point, we're transitioning in Eldred's Nursery. And I think that you need to be aware as we transition, because Rob turns 78 in June. I have already turned 73. Our commitment to people with individuals in this community with disabilities is a deep, abiding commitment. We are not going anywhere. We're still members of the board. We will continue to be members of the board and help with the transition process as it moves forward. But we have board hired a person who has experience with job training with Texas Workforce to step into my shoes. That will happen the 17th of June. And I think it's extremely important that you all are aware that there are transitions taking place. They are transitions that are well thought out. They're not going to be things that just are dropped in somebody's lap. It's important for us to do that for the people that we hold near and dear, including families and individuals with disabilities. If you need more information you would love to put a presentation together so that it'd be possible for the city council to be aware of the numbers in Bell County at this point, and possibly some of the facts and figures for the future. Bring parents in so that you can hear the kinds of things that parents and trainees, and I know you, Mr. Lee, were able to hear some of the things and see some of the people who were enthusiastic about our most recent fundraiser. There's a truly able community, family members who would love to be able to talk about what the needs are. And if you have that desire, I'd love to put that together for you, because the schools are active, families are active, we do social activities on a weekly basis that perhaps you're not aware of. Questions?
Well, yeah. As public comments, we can't really comment on that. So again, number one, thank you for the passion that you have for what you've done in starting this effort. Thank you for what you're doing in the community to help us beautify downtown, and also thank you for helping all those that need that and that need that outlet. We appreciate that. What we'll do is we'll talk with staff and see what we can do on the next steps. So again, thank you guys for coming in.
Welcome. You're welcome.
Good luck on your transition.
Okay. 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 Well, you all can help us. We had a big fundraiser April 6th. We will be having a golf tournament. As you all know, nonprofits run on people supporting the nonprofit. So as we move out, we hope you join us. Rob and I have never taken a single dime from this nursery. And if we're going to continue, then we've got to have people paid to be able to take care of the need in this community and in this county.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any other public comments? Something you would like to bring to us? All right. There being no other public comments, we'll move on to a very appropriate proclamation for Arbor Day. I think I see some people that will be accepting this proclamation. Is this correct? And so do I need to come down there to read it? Okay, I'm going to come down there and read it. All right. Turn it this way, I guess. And so we can, all right. I don't write these things, but whoever does that knows that I'm an engineer, and they use words like menagerie, whatever. So anyway, but wait for it. It'll be in there. So, whereas from towering pine trees to sprawling hardy elms, the menagerie of types of trees in Texas are prominent features of our unique landscape. And whereas as Texans, we value our trees and their benefits, clean air, clean water, little pollen, reducing the erosion of our precious topsoils by wind and water, reducing heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas Texas first observed Arbor Day in 1889, Sam knows it well, following in the footsteps of Nebraska in 1872, where they only had one tree, when citizens of that state planted 1 million trees and established that a day in April should be set aside for planting trees. And whereas the city of Belton's own design standards ensure Belton's heritage trees are protected and new trees are established with new buildings and neighborhoods because of the understood value to our city, the increase in property values, the enhancement of economic vitality, and the commitment to environmental stewardship and beautification of our community. And whereas as 19th century American poet Lucy Larcom wrote, "He who plants a tree plants a hope, plants a joy, and he plants peace, he plants youth, he plants love. And whereas the city of Belton encourages the planting of new trees and caring for existing trees in our community, now therefore I, David Lee, mayor, on the behalf of the city of Belton, do proclaim April 26th, which is in 3 days, as Arbor Day in the city of Belton.
Yes.
Up to this point, we've planted, just in the spring, we planted 3 red oaks, a white oak, a bur oak, and Texas redbud. Those have been planted already, and we have the Chambers tree dedication is
Yeah.
May 4th. I believe it is Friday, May 4th. May 3rd. Is that what it is? May 3rd? Sorry, but that's coming up. You'll be there. I'm sure you will. Thank you.
And this one's for free. So there's 2 oak trees in front of First Baptist Church on either side of the flagpoles. If you look there on Main Street where 6th and Main is, if you go by there, I mean, you drive by there, go and look at those trees. Those trees are only about 40 to 45 years old, but some people think that they're over 100. It's amazing when you plant native trees and you treat them well, that they will really take over and look amazing within 40 years. It doesn't take generations and generations. So anyway, thank you guys for doing that. All right. Next on the agenda is our consent agenda. Items 4 through 6 can be enacted on one motion. I will go ahead and read these. Item 4 is approval of the minutes of previous meetings, April 9th, 2024 joint workshop meeting and April 9th regular city council meeting. Item 5 is an amendment development agreement between the city of Belton and UMHB regarding street erection located on 11th between North Main and Pearl. I said 4 through 6, looks like. No, 4 and 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, just 4 and 5.
I move we approve the consent agenda of items 4 and 5.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve 4 and 5. Any comments? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. All right, Item 6 is receive a presentation and discuss strategic plan and long-term goals of the city of Belton. Mr. Listy.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. 1889, is that what you said?
Yeah. You weren't there?
Little gray, right? Earned every one. I appreciate it, Mayor and council. This is our opportunity to present some preliminary comments on the strategic plan update. And so happy to do that tonight and looking forward to doing that with y'all. Just run through the brief introduction, some goal categories, some of the things that have been recently emphasized, and then some topics of discussion that have come up recently as we've gone out for this. We do this process every year, as you well know. And last year we did a comprehensive update. We brought in consultant to help us with that and made a lot of progress. A lot of things going on right now. So we're doing this update in-house, and we circulated the request for information to all the department heads and to the council, and we've gotten some great comments back. And so I want to just kind of review where we are at this particular point in time. The 7 goal categories remain unchanged. We'll maintain those. We believe those continue to be substantive and relevant and really don't need to be changed. We believe we can incorporate everything under those components, and we'll do so as we go through this process. So in the current plan, I'll run through these briefly with you. These are the items that are identified in the current plan, and principally most of these items are staying. Some will come out because the process has been completed, but we'll just run through those briefly. And you can see, obviously, the annual update, maintaining and implementing our master plans, very important. We've got the Main Street study getting close to being done. We've got one more little component we'd like to address. The future land use map, also we've had a discussion there, and we hope to finish that up in the not too distant future. The Parks Master Plan, we plan on an update of that in 2026, and so that will round out those elements. In item number 3, tax utility and fee schedules. The rate study, as you know, is just about done. We'll be incorporating that into the budget process shortly. And we've talked a couple of times about the ARPA funding, and we'll be coming back to you with that in the not too distant future. ETJ plat jurisdiction with Bell County is something that we've mentioned needs some attention as we've grown. That agreement that we have right now may be a little bit out of sync with the development activity, and we may want to bring that back to you for some consideration. The needs of those major departments, police department, fire department, and public works will in those elements. We were fortunate to add the 15 employees this past year as a result of last year's strategic plan effort. And so onboarding those folks is important, as well as continuing to address facility and equipment needs and identifying land for the fire station. We're continuing to work on that. Our infrastructure needs are addressed through our annual street maintenance plan, 5-year CIP, and then our 5-year TER CIP as well. And so those will be retained. Some important economic development efforts include the launch of the Imagine Belton standards that is in process. Of course, we had that meeting just recently. Cynthia is working to market the Indico site right now and is looking at some future land for park. And then up during our tourism goals are also items that will be retained. Lots going on with TxDOT, as you can see from the list, and as you drive around the community, the Loop 121, of course, widening, the Central Avenue Bridge in the Eddie Pope Park being rehabbed, the sidewalk along 13th under construction right now as we speak. The Central Spring Street Bridge replacement is out for RFP right now. You may have seen that advertisement in the paper. So we hope to get that project underway very, very soon. TxDOT is doing the design for the FM 93 widening west of Main Street. That's a longer term project, but they've started some design work. 6th Avenue major maintenance is a longer term project, but something that we're working with TxDOT on right now and trying to get that scheduled and programmed. And then Connell Avenue design is on your agenda tonight, actually. Park system, of course, Standpipe Park is also on your agenda tonight. You'll be taking action on that. Heritage Park Phase 1, we just dedicated last week, and Phase 2, we are currently programming that for 27. So those will remain in the plan. And then our annual park maintenance plan, very, very important. Partnerships with these entities will be retained as a component. We've been talking about joint facilities for some time, and I'll have another comment to add on that as I show you the additional comments that we've received recently, but that remains an important component. And then servant leadership and customer service, really important with the council's leadership and support. With this recommendation, we are going to conduct our first of what we hope to be annual Belton University, a focus on customer service, and arrangements have been made with UMHB to host that first one on August 20th. And so that'll be an all-day event for all the city employees to participate. And so that we're looking forward to that. We're looking at a compensation update, compensation study update in 2025. Those are all the items that are in the current plan that we feel like will need to be retained. As we move through these next few slides here, I'll show you what components and recommendations we've gotten from department heads and council members about what needs to happen going forward. So the items that are not highlighted are the ones that are retained. And then the ones that are highlighted are the ones that I'll touch on basically. Certainly there's been some discussion about maintaining emphasis and focus on a strategy for long-term water resources. And so we want to make sure that's a principal focus. We believe we've taken care of it. You got the note from Mike today about the bond issue, the funding for BCW CID number 1 having been that debt issue going forward. But this is long-term water, looking at aquifers and other resources. Our drought contingency and water conservation plan needs to be updated. BRA just announced that we've moved away from the Phase 2, and we're going to go back to Phase 1 basically. And so that needs to be updated and refined based on what we learned from the drought last summer. Parks Master Plan update, we're looking at 26. It won't affect this year's budget, but 2026 we'll be looking at that. And item number 3, as I mentioned, implementation of the rate study will occur within this budget cycle as we receive those recommendations in, I believe, in the first meeting in May. and then a drainage fee study. We funded that in 24. We hope to get to that in 25, looking at our drainage fee, the projects that are essential as a part of that, and ensuring we are generating enough funds to fund those items. Here we're looking at building code updates. Those are items that come around routinely. We're looking at trying to adopt the 21 codes. Most of the cities in the region are looking at these to try to bring those into sync with current development activity. Again, I'd like to pursue clarification of the ETJ plat jurisdiction with Bell County because of growth factors, and we'll be coming back to you with something on that. Another component of these last few slides has to do with the appointment of several subcommittees. And so I've asked each of the chairs of the subcommittees to develop recommendations that would tie into the strategic plan update. And so I hope to have that in time to present to you as we present the strategic plan itself with their input on all these components that are relevant to them. Moving down to item number 6, the quality of life subcommittee would certainly have some input on the infrastructure needs of those different elements. Economic development efforts. The additional items that came up in this discussion had to do business recruitment plan. Obviously still looking for that hotel and convention center, Judy, and conference center. Still excited about the opportunities there, and certainly there's a lot of discussion going on about that. Business park land acquisition and infrastructure. Cynthia wanted me to emphasize that. Just obviously as land is acquired, infrastructure is going to be important to meet those needs. And then again, here, the economic development subcommittee would have some input for these items as well. And in the situation with TxDOT, obviously the existing projects remain that are under construction. They'll drop off as they're done. The Central Avenue Bridge project will probably be done by the time we put this update to bed. And so the other projects and the Central Avenue side, 13th Avenue obviously will also be done too. So those would drop off as we prepare for the next 5-year update of the plan. Some items that we've added include this 6th Avenue maintenance project. Looking at 2027 is what TxDOT is telling us, and we'll have some discussion at K-Tempo's technical committee tomorrow about that. L Avenue design in 24, 25 is kind of the time frame. We're looking at that probably about a year to get that design done. Taylor's Valley Road rehab was another one that has emerged recently with all the cement trucks and activity out on that road is something that needs some attention that we need to focus on. And then, of course, a really major strategic plan component for our community is the presentation we had last week about IH-14 and IH-35, the expansion implications to the city. And so there's another meeting coming up May 2nd, which I think will be advertised extensively in the paper for the community. That'll be at the Cadence Center at 5 o'clock for the Belton portion. Really important project and something TxDOT is just in the initial design of, but certainly there are some ideas about how that's going to be to essentially a 500-foot right away from what it is now, about 300 feet. So significant implication, and we need to be at the table and have a lot of input on that. And in terms of the impact to properties as well as our entrances and exits, our accesses to those two highways. So very, very important project from a strategic standpoint. Looking at item number 10, partnerships. Here's the one I wanted to mention about the working to try to align interests for joint facilities. That is a very important component. One of the comments that we had to do with not letting that take forever, essentially. We certainly have some needs and some interests, and it's certainly commendable for us to work with other entities to try to resolve interests where that might be in our interest to do that. But at some point in time, we may need to make a decision about a fire station site or other facilities that are needed. And so that was, I think, Dave made that suggestion, and I think that has some merit as well. We need to fuzz the rails trail alignment with Temple in that area along the old Georgetown Railroad approximately. We had a meeting last week with the Corps of Engineers on the Overlook closure, and there were some suggestions made about options for addressing that in another fashion. So again, we'd be looking for the facility subcommittee for some input on these matters. Looking ahead at, again, staffing, customer service, those kinds of issues. Again, the compensation study in 25. A number of department heads mentioned the objective of having supervisory training, leadership academy, employee development, those kinds of enhancements for employee performance to, again, do everything we can to deliver quality services to the community and customer service community. And as you recall, last year, we presented a 5-year plan to you that identified a need for about 45 employees at the strategic plan session last year. We were able, and that was not all needed at one time, but the council was very generous in approving 15 employees essentially at that time. When you see the budget this year, you'll recognize we really made an effort to not come forward with a substantial number of personnel in this budget. We wanted obviously to implement all that staff, try to see how that all worked, make sure we could afford everything that had been put into the budget. And yet there are other needs that will emerge over the next 2 to 3 years. There won't be much, as I mentioned, in this year's budget in terms of new personnel, but we can't lose sight of those needs out there in the future. So keep that in mind as well. Beautification committee recommendations, really appreciate the outstanding work that we're doing with Eldred's that came out of the beautification committee, really making a huge difference to and then the other components that were elements of that, the facade improvement grants, the murals that we're seeing. The chief even recommended doing a mural on the central fire station, that wall. And so opportunities once you have the vision that emerged as a result of that. Welcome to Belton Signing Leadership Group is very, very close in terms of their dollars, within $1,000, I think, of their fundraising goal. So very, very hopeful there. So again, some excitement. These are newer items that have emerged in the process as we've gone forward. A comprehensive communications audit, looking at all the ways we communicate with the public, internally, externally, and so forth. In fact, we had our first meeting. We've actually executed a contract on this project and had our first meeting yesterday. And so we're very, very excited about trying to bring all that together in terms of a comprehensive format for communications by the city. Another compelling item is a community. We've had a little bit of discussion about that in-house. We have not done a survey. We've done some pieces. I know Parks has done surveys as they've done their master plan updates and all, but we have not done a comprehensive community survey. To recommend the council that we do that. There's also been a suggestion about a marketing study that might follow that. The BRA pipeline, obviously in the news a lot, and certainly has some impact to Belton. Our objective is to evaluate that carefully and do everything we can to mitigate the impacts of that. We just had the presentation on homelessness, and so our commitment to affordable housing and homelessness is certainly a component of our strategic plan that we'd like to add and include in this process. And then finally, traffic flow with a focus on pedestrian and bike safety. Wayne, I think, mentioned that item, and important as we look at all the roads that are having impacts, where we're adding sidewalks, and obviously there's going to be people and the new microtransit bus facility. So there's a lot of transportation components that are impacted in addition to vehicles. And so pedestrian and bike safety are very important as we go forward in the community's development. And so obviously we're not at a final stage right now for the strategic plan, but I think we've gotten some great comments from council and management staff as we pull all that together. And certainly we're welcome to take any additional input that the council may have or anyone else might have as we try to formulate that all and bring that back to you at the July 9th meeting. And I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
All right, thanks, Sam. And we received an email requesting that input, but not all of us always read all of our emails. And so just this is a good opportunity to, so any comments or questions that you guys may have? I mean, while I've got a couple.
Sure, please.
So one is thanks for putting the subcommittees. Again, hopefully our subcommittees that are made up of some of our boards and commissions members but also some other at-large members. Hopefully these are thought leaders in our community. And I think while it's really good that we've identified several areas for them to have input, I think we probably need to present the strategic plan to them, maybe as a group, to let them know this is kind of where we are. We're basically going to redoing this. We really would like your input, because example is quality of life, but we don't have it on you didn't list it on the parks, right? Or, those kinds of things. So it's not just a box that they fit in. I mean, because again, economic development may be just as much about the exits on 35, or the use of water. So I think that we probably need to broaden the input. While going to the citizens is great, you're typically going to get the 3 or 4 people that are really interested and they love Belton, and the 8 or 10 don't like Belton. You're going to get that input, but the getting it from these subcommittees, I think you'll get thought leaders.
Okay.
So that's one. The other one that I had was, you mentioned the BRA pipeline, and based on a recent meeting we had with the Corps engineers and the overlook, I would incorporate lake to lake road alignment, right of way, not necessarily constructing a road or funding it, but securing right of way with the BRA pipeline with the overlook, because I know it's multiple governing entities, right? And I would, it won't happen unless it's strategic. And so I would definitely broaden that BRA to be kind of that whole thing.
Okay.
Those are 2 inputs I had.
Again, any input's welcome. So if you think of something else, please let us know.
I was the guy that didn't fill it out, but you pretty much hit all my topics on the head. I mean, it's my biggest one after last week's scare is just we've got to be on top of TxDOT as much as possible, because I think there's a lot of opportunity as much as there is an impact. There's as much of opportunity for us. So
good. Okay. All right.
Well, and if you guys have any more comments, I mean, please be involved as much as you would like to be.
Okay. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you. All right. Item is hold a public hearing and consider a zoning change from light to planned development on approximately 13.475 acres located at 212 Groves Road. Ms. Tina.
Hi, Mr. Mayor. How's everybody else today?
Just groovy.
Okay. Thank you. I was looking for that. All right, this request is to consider a reduction in the required parking for a new warehouse that's coming in for USA Capital on Groves Road. They're looking at constructing a 73,000 square feet new warehouse. For that, what is required is 1 parking spaces for every 1,000 square feet. So that would require 73 parking spaces. On their site plan, they're proposing 75 parking spaces in all. For the first phase of the project, the applicant would just like to construct parking spaces. They feel that that's adequate for what they need at the moment. That equals around 1,400 square feet parking per area. The applicant also has 2 other buildings in the area, and they have other empty parking spaces that they would like to use for the facility. They don't think that would be much of a detriment in that area because the buildings are adjacent to each other. With that, they also have a total number of employees of 20, and that was working on a rotating schedule for a 24-hour period. So with that, they're asking for the deferment of 24 parking spaces at this time. And the city just wanted to have some kind of criteria for when that parking spaces would be required. So with that, that would be the increase of the building's gross floor area, the sale of the property, or the adjacent property that's currently owned by the applicant. With that, here's the location of the building, the area. It's zone light industrial. It's east of 35 and it's on the north side of Groves Road. Again, this property is already zoned light industrial and it allows for what they're proposing to use it for. Here is their site plan for the parking. The 51 parking spaces are the white area, and the 24 parking spaces that will be deferred are in the shaded pinkish area for this. future land use map shows this as a commercial corridor, so what they're doing is appropriate. With that, the Planning and Zoning Commission heard them at their meeting on the 19th. They recommended approval of the zoning change. Staff concurs with that, given that the applicant has ownership of adjacent properties, limited workers with a rotating shift and available parking in the vicinity. I don't see the applicant here, but I'll be happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
All right, this being a public hearing, we'll close the deliberations for the council and open the floor to public comments on this item. And if anyone would like to speak in favor or against this proposed change. There being no public comments, we will close the floor and reconvene to consider this motion.
Just a quick question. I think, do we need to reconsider our parking requirements? I think with the flex space construction, especially as I travel down I-35, tremendous amount of square footage, very little parking, trucks in and trucks out, and, you know, not a lot of customer service or in and out traffic. I just think we may be missing the mark with our requirement.
It's a good suggestion. As talking with other folks in other parts of the country, many places are reducing the parking requirement. And one of the issues here is, you know, capital seating. They know a little bit better what their need is. And I don't know if the parking ratios have kept up with the demand and the expectation. And so 1 per 1,000 may just be too much. And a lot of cities are moving away from parking requirement. Strong town emphasis, basically. In fact, I've seen incentives to not provide parking, believe it or not. And so obviously there has to be enough parking to meet the need, but we may be in excess. So that's certainly a zoning code element requirement that could be looked at to try to reduce that amount.
Yeah, I'd agree on the parking. I mean, for the other strong towns people in the room, it's definitely off the mark. This is probably not an application that would kind of fit into that mold, but like John was saying, highway, light and middle, where there's just lots of space for stuff versus people. I think a more adequate question is how many on shift at one time is probably the adequate question. Whereas, you know, other businesses we know, hey, you've got 1,000 seats in a movie theater. There's a chance they're all gonna be full at one time, maybe back in the day, not more, but you know, I think there's ways we just have to take a look at it because, you know, that I don't know how many, I don't know what the number is per parking spot anymore, but it's a pretty drastic number these days for construction, and then we can do spur development is better.
Worthy discussion to have, I think.
Yeah, I mean, even restaurants anymore, most people are going drive-throughs and you look at the number of people sitting in restaurants or parked in the parking lot, it's really changed since COVID. Yeah, banks. I mean, it probably is worth the discussion. I shared with Sam, I received a letter, a property we have down in San Marcos, and they actually said, we're no longer going to have parking requirements for your business. And so it's kind of a hint, you can read some of your parking lots if you wish to. They didn't say it that way, but they basically said we're removing parking requirements. And so it's a really good way to put infill. I think the challenge is going to be, it's going to put more pressure on public transportation and multimodal transportation, which is probably a good thing, more efficient.
And I think it is important to keep parking off the streets, off public roadways.
And I love the way that they did it, where they've identified the area where they can expand, so that's room. It's not, they're not blocked out of being able to provide that, but not having to spend the money on asphalt is probably a smart thing.
Move we approve agenda item number 7 as presented.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve agenda item 7. Any other comments or questions? There being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes unanimously. All right, item 8 is consider authorizing the street use license for MEL3 LLC to allow for construction of a wooden deck for outdoor dining in the public right-of-way on Northeast Street. Ms. Moore.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is unusual. We got the whole family here for this case. But this request is to look at an existing loading zone that is currently used as access for the applicant's property to turn that into a dining area, outdoor area to serve a new food truck that they recently opened at the location. So here's a look at what that area is. This is currently a no parking and this, again, serves as access to that applicant's location. With that, here is a conceptual layout of what is being proposed. This outdoor seating accommodate about 8 to 10 seats. It would be constructed of treated lumber and steel railing. City is also requested for bollards to be placed around the dining area for added protection for the pedestrians. Here's a closer look concept. There are some utility panels for water and sewers that they will maintain access. So Public Works needs to get into that. It could be done. So this whole decking area stems from their gates that, sorry, I was set before.
Sorry, Chris.
Apologize, switch slides and I forgot to hit button. So the deck will stem from an exterior gate that they have going into their outdoor area and was past the city sidewalk and extend into that no parking area. There will maintain the ADA ramp for access for this area. And again, it's just to accommodate two outdoor seating area. Applicant has indicated earlier this week that they want to add some misters out there. So it'll also benefit pedestrians walking by as well in this area. With that, with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. And should you have any questions for the applicant, he is also available.
My and first concern is going to be a Chief Fontenot fire safety fire truck pulling up issue. That would be probably my biggest problem. I like it. There's probably a guy, if he were here right now, that's been a champion of the East Street walking corridor. Could be a fun project to look at if, you know, for pedestrian flow. It sounds cool and novelty, and I think this kind of feeds into that, what's happening with that area. My other comment is just straight to you guys as the owners. If it's there and available, I've talked to a couple people from where I do things down there about seeing the trailer now versus what it used to look like when they looked through the alleyway. So if you have the capacity for sitting on the front of the trailer, I'm sure your neighbors would love it. So that's just my, yeah. So that's about it. So mainly is my Fontenot question. So
one of our concerns about this project is
Yes.
There is a fire department connection through that alleyway that feeds the sprinkler system to the adjacent building. So this is our only access to that sprinkler system. And the code says we have unimpeded access to that fire department connection. So that is our major concern, is the population that's going to be in that alleyway. If something is happening that we need to get to that fire department connection, and then being able to take a hose down that alleyway safely and get to that fire department connection. So that's our concern.
So my follow-up question is the current use for I believe it's the L3 building, that's y'all's courtyard, basically. We've approved that use as is. And so I don't know what typically happens in there, but is there still access to that point now before food truck, before, like, how are we getting more, like, I understand it's more restricted, but is it already restricted?
There is some restriction, food truck, but we had clear pathway.
Yeah.
A better design would have been to put that fire department connection where it should have been, which is in the front of the building, where we had street access to that fire department connection. That was prior to my time. I'm not sure what the decision factor was of putting in that courtyard. But having it in that courtyard means that we need to have access through this alleyway at all times.
I do want to mention that with the subdivision plat that was done for this property, there is a 5-foot pedestrian access to ensure that fire department has access to that remote connection.
And I'll just tap in real quick, but on the right side of that deck, there's an existing motorcycle spot that's right there, a parallel spot. And we've talked, when we met with the fire department about possibly putting a curb stop a little further back, still allowing the bike to park there, but ensuring that Chief and his guys have that access straight to the pedestrian easement through that. So that's another tool that we'd probably implement if approved.
Another one is that the sidewalk is going to remain clear. Make sure it's a little hard to see, but the sidewalk itself is remaining clear, and then access into the alleyway itself. Fire hydrant itself is actually on the corner of Central, so that's what they would be accessing for, a fire hydrant.
Could you go back to the as is, not that picture, but the one showing what it looks like now? Okay. All right, thank you. So that the ownership of that L is yours. So there's not a public ownership. There's not a public alleyway. This is a private alleyway.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hi, Mike Linneman. I live at 2205 South. I've been a resident for about 20 years. Question for you, sir.
Yeah, I was just curious on that's a privately owned alleyway, not
Entirely.
a publicly owned alleyway.
There's not
though
even a-
public access to the fire, which creates kind of I guess, a tension, right? So we've got a public service point inside a private.
But it is actually, it's entirely privately owned right there from the edge of the sidewalk in. There's not even an easement, a utility easement anywhere within that courtyard, although there's utilities running everywhere. When we platted this, we put in, yes, a 5-foot pedestrian easement. And we didn't even do that. What the original thought wasn't for the FDC. It was for the neighboring building, the old bank on the corner. Their only back door for 5 square feet back into our courtyard. In fact, we had to cut a notch out of our first floor to allow access to that door. So that door has free flowing access all the way out. But through the entire planning process of the building, through the entire planning process of the courtyard, and then even to the installation of the food truck, the fire department has been fully informed, fully involved, and has full approval of this.
Yeah.
So they still have that 5-foot heated access to get to the FDC. It's also the most modern building in downtown Belton. It is heavily sprinkled. So we are probably more protected from fire than any of our neighbors.
Yeah.
And what we're looking at doing, may I?
Yeah, sure. Yes.
I guess I'm speaking in favor. I have 3 minutes.
Yeah.
What you have right now, if you just look at the picture, yes, it's unattractive. I don't think the trailer itself is unattractive, but the approach is unattractive. The approach is not ADA compliant. You have cuts in the asphalt. You have numerous openings. What we're going to do is going to be beautiful. I don't know if any of you have seen my building or if any of you have walked into my courtyard, but the last thing I'm going to do is leave a wart in downtown Belton. What I want to do is make this even more stunningly gorgeous than it already is. The decking material, we're talking about treated lumber on the underside, concrete footings. I was looking at using a Trex material on the surface. My carpenters talked me into something that's on even a higher level. We're looking at using metal railings that will match the railings across the street at the McGuire building and then down the street at Arusha's. We're looking at lighting. We're looking at umbrellas. It's going to be gorgeous when we're done with it. And you're going to look at it and you're going to say, wow, we're so glad we did this. You'll have bollards on each side for safety. You'll have the railing for safety. You'll have ADA compliance more so than what you have right now. The railings will also frame in the food truck itself. And then your umbrellas and such like that are going to soften the look of what you have right here, along with the lighting and everything else. I would love to be a person who could spend less money on things, right? My CPA loses sleep at night and my bookkeepers have all started day drinking. So if we'll drop an amount of money making this absolutely gorgeous, and we'll make sure it complies with everything the city wants.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep.
How tall will the railing be off the pavement? Do you know?
Not very high. Not trying to elevate the deck. What we're trying to do is just elevate the deck just enough so that we don't have to disturb the concrete underneath. So should we ever be in a position where we need to move this, and I understand that's part of the street license use agreement, is that should you guys ever come up and say, hey, you got to get this deck out of our way, we got to do some work here, we got to get the deck out of your way. So we're not going to be the only, quite frankly, the only real disturbance to any of the surfaces will be the installation of the 4 bollards, which was a city requirement. So the deck itself, by the time you get out to the edge of the asphalt by the no parking, I don't imagine we're going to be more than about 8 inches off the ground.
Is the width of the no parking area there, is that 8 feet? What's proposed is that deck comes out 8 feet. Would that come
Correct,
about to the
correct.
edge of
Yeah,
what line
it
we see
matches the
here?
footprint of the no parking
Okay.
area within a few inches each way. So it's roughly 15 feet across, extends from the edge of the sidewalk about 8 feet.
Okay. I called Chief Berg earlier and him, my only concern was really with the one parallel parking space to the north of this. Is it get complicated for people to pull in and out of there? And he assured me he knows how to parallel park, so
No, either
it
way.
wouldn't be a problem where it won't.
Right. And you know, and again, the arguments of the debate has gone on back and forth about the future of downtown. You know, downtown never comes alive more than when you close those streets off. Eventually, you're going to want more and more of a pedestrian-friendly downtown.
Amen.
That's where your successful downtown areas, that's what they have. What you have right now, we have a bunch of vacant buildings downtown. What we need to do is think outside the box. Level 3 is still an experiment. And we've taken a huge risk on downtown Belton. We've laid out a massive amount of capital making this happen. All I'm asking is for Belton to take a little bit of a risk on us.
Yeah, and I'm supportive of the proposal here. My only other question is with those bollards coming up 36 inches, is there a need for those to come up a little higher? And I don't want to get them so tall that it is an eyesore, but when I'm backing up my F-150, I can't see something that's 3 feet tall behind me. And I don't know, that's probably the case in the Nissan Altima too, but would there be any merit to having those up 48 inches instead of 36 inches so that you can see them a little better? And I don't know with the height of the railing over the 8-inch lift in the pavement, it may be visible fine, but it was just a question that I was thinking about as I was looking at it.
Either way, 4 foot, 3 foot, we can do them.
I mean, there's also opportunity for you to make the 4 corners the bollards themselves. I mean, depending on how you design it, metal welded.
The way the city came back to us with their version of how they wanted it done, they want those bollards outside of the railing. So yeah, they'll be a completely separate thing. We'll also be painting the asphalt where the bollards are, giving a little bit of a striped, you know, so people have a visual, you know, in case they miss the bollard itself. But the bollards are going to be painted kind of bright well. So
My last logistic question is curb and gutter and drainage. If something gets stuck under there and wedges, I don't know, can't picture which way it flows, but it's one of the other map baits probably.
we had the entire courtyard used to be impervious cover. And when we had a landscape architect redesign the whole thing from the gate back, we capture all of that drainage. We run it all underground and out the lowest point out the back corner. So we no longer have dirt buildup back there. We no longer have runoff issues. Even with the really rains we had the other day, one of our drains got a little backed up, but it all funneled out just fine. We didn't have any flooding back there or anything like that. Once you get past the gate, there is one downspout. You'll see it off to the right there on the little building at 111 East Street. It drains right out onto that sidewalk. All we're going to do is we're not going to disturb that much. We're just going to have that drain under the deck. So it'll still fall in, drain in the same area it's draining to. The drainage will work the same. And then should anything get caught under this for one reason or another, we're going to have a number of access panels. You see where the utilities have to be accessed. So we're going to have ways to get under this deck should we need to. But I don't usually see a lot of trash down around there. It's not been something that we incur much. So I don't think we're going to have a big, this should not affect drainage on any.
I'd like to make a motion, but first I'd like to tell you how much I appreciate what you've done already, and everything you've done is absolutely first class, and I would expect this to be as well. So
Thank you, sir.
I'd like to move we approve this contract.
All right, we have a motion and a second. I have a couple of questions and comments have said. Anybody else have any comments or questions before we vote on this? All right, so I think one comment is, I think we probably do need to find a legal way to make sure there is a easement and not just a gentleman's agreement on something that's public access for fire department on private land. So as part of this, I think we need to do whatever we need to do if there's not an easement to make sure there is an easement.
It is on a subdivision plat. It's a recorded easement. On the
There isn't, okay, he had said that there was no easements recorded, even though their utilities are there and all this other stuff. So I just wanted to make sure that we had, okay.
And we are recording.
Okay, we are recording. Okay, that's number one. Number two is the concern, and if you go to, I say concern. Fully supportive. I think this is a great idea, and I think closing East Street on weekends and key things is a really good move for downtown Belton. So all in favor of that. Traveling to a lot of big cities in Europe and the US, this is very common. Restaurants have outdoor seating, typically, you know, in sometimes on a sidewalk, sometimes in the right of way, and they're kind of mobile. A lot of times tents and stuff, and you can move them out of the way, and it's easy to go. My biggest concern is when Joe Blow trips on the Trex or the upgraded Trex that's now public sidewalk. Who do they sue?
We do.
Well, and where I'm going with it is I think that the public sidewalk needs to be a public sidewalk, and I don't think we should have private structure on a public sidewalk. So if we need to accommodate in some way, because somebody's on a walker and how what's the slope and and now it's got lines in it and it's not, anyway, I just think that the sidewalk area needs to be, it's either public or private. I don't think there's a both. That would be my concern and I think we should make the downtown and allow for that sidewalk to accommodate what's that's needed. So right now it's accommodating a drive into it. If we need to elevate the sidewalk, but I think it needs to be public, personal opinion.
Okay, I was just going to mention that we do require the applicant to carry insurance that hold the city harmless against any lawsuit, and that has been provided for this.
Yeah, but I think, well, then it ceases to really be we've now delegated the sidewalk to someone else if we're held harmless. It's no longer a public sidewalk. And so now public standards don't necessarily apply. I think there's a legal gray area here that we don't want to be in. I don't know.
Mr. have any comments?
Yeah, I don't know, John. Do you have any?
It's our sidewalk.
Okay. It's our sidewalk.
It's our sidewalk. They just have a license. It's the street sidewalk.
Yeah, but how do they do a hold harmless if it's sidewalk?
Well, I mean, that doesn't mean, in them agreements are good, it doesn't mean you're not gonna get sued. Probably are gonna get sued, and that won't be worked out.
I did my concern is it's a domino. So I think I think this is a great idea. I think it allows for more on the street seating. I could see festivals where we load up tables all in the street. I see other restaurants potentially or bars coming in and doing the same thing. When Miller's started to do their drive-through and we took 2 or 3 parking spots to allow them to do a drive-through, then we had several other restaurants wanting to do that. I think we're going to have the same kind of thing. And I think as soon as we start allowing for the public sidewalk to then be a private use, I think we'll see the same thing. And I think that's a slippery slope we should probably not go down. Because I think we need to have a consistent, now our sidewalks aren't all great, but when they're designed correctly, they're good. And so I don't want to see a mismatch of materials going from the cut. I'm related to, and I see some people that have struggles walking and anyway, I don't know. I may be the only one, but
In that regard, I think we have a similar issue at Miller's. And that sidewalk on the west side of Miller's, because it is just.
It ceases to be a public sidewalk.
It's horribly trip hazard. I mean, it is egregious. It's not their fault. I don't know that it's our fault. I mean, it used to be a service station for crying out loud, and there's just, but that's a real trip hazard in that area. So that's one we probably ought to look at working out something, because it's bad.
Yeah.
It's really bad. But I love what they're doing here. I think we need to accommodate that any way we need to do it. The mayor has said, whatever works best. If we gotta do some stuff as the city to keep that sidewalk, I support that.
I wouldn't want to hold this up, but I agree with it. We gotta find, and if it's the East Street project that we deem this a zone, maybe it becomes its own zone, and I don't know, David, are you saying we give up the sidewalk?
No, we don't give
Okay.
up the sidewalk. No, we
Okay.
don't give up the sidewalk.
So that
No.
we just have to come to something, because I agree.
No, we just need to
but-
make sure the sidewalk is compatible with the use, right? And we're changing the use, so that means we're no longer driving in the alley. We now have people walking across the alley to something that's 8 inches above. So we need to flatten that sidewalk so that way they can come straight across. And maybe they can use decking, and then it's sidewalk, and then it's decking. But I think it needs to be consistent for the sidewalk.
Yeah, we ought to pay for the sidewalk.
And we should pay for it, and we should pay for that. And that we don't think that they should pay for that. I think we should own the sidewalk.
I mean, yeah, if we're basically giving up the drive access, so that should be, gonna make it a sidewalk, but it's also, I mean, there's no right way, but I think we can find whatever that word was, a meaningful way to do it.
Yeah.
Just gonna touch base on your comments there, Merritt. So right now, we saw the decking image that they had. It would be essentially where you'd see the street, it would extend all the way to the food truck and down the alleyway. There'll be decking. What you have now, as you walk essentially north-south, is you walk down into the kind of loading zone and then back up. What they are proposing would be a deck that would be flush with where the sidewalk is at its highest point. It would flush all the way across, going north or south, whichever we want, and then would merge back into our existing grade of the sidewalk. So essentially, the loading zone concrete sidewalk is still there. It's underneath the deck. It's there. Would that satisfy what you're, in terms of access?
Well, it shows, it says ramp 4 inches.
You can see, if you look at the proposed picture, you can see how it feathers, how it's proposed to feather into the concrete.
Yep, it's a ramp up.
That's where you trip.
That's right. And because the boards are this way, it's people catch toes, especially those that have Parkinson's.
If there's a desire as well, we can look with the ramp and with the developer here, but potentially we could maybe saw cut or kind of reduce down. So it's purely flush. There is no ramp up or ramp down, but it is just flush across. That would be a public dollar expense that we would come out of pocket for, let them go over. And then if this ever went away, we would restore that sidewalk to existing condition with that.
Yeah, I think sidewalks being flush is the way we need to go. We don't need to have ramps on the sidewalk.
Well, we'll work with them.
Future consider.
Yeah, future consider concrete. It would be honestly better if it were concrete, but if it's. We understand this is last minute. All right, I'd like to amend the motion. I'd like to amend the motion to account for the sidewalk being flush during this process, and the city would pick up a reasonable difference. We'd hate to design.
Would Wayne have to do that, or?
Yeah.
Wayne would have to agree.
No, he doesn't. Parliamentary procedure, somebody makes a motion, a second, someone can amend the motion, it takes a second. You can then vote on the amendment, you can agree or disagree. Now it's part of the total new.
Second.
All right, we have a motion, a second to amend the current motion to allow for a no ramp sidewalk.
So you're talking about the decking across the sidewalk would not exist if we would pour concrete there?
Or it would be decking with no ramp. Like he said, basically cut out where the decking can go straight across, and it would be flush with the either side. Either one. So now the motion as amended is that we, what's presented with the
So we gotta
sidewalk.
vote on the amendment first.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's right. So motion a second to amend.
We're voting to add the flush in right now. This first vote, right?
Yeah, this first one is just the amendment. Yeah, voting on the amendment. Yeah, all in favor of the amendment? Say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, the amendment passes. Now we have an amended motion to approve what was done. Thank you very much. And that we go with the flatness of the sidewalk. Any other comments, discussion,
No.
other amendments?
No.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, passes unanimously. All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for your investment.
I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Very much.
All right, item 9, sorry, a little upside down dyslexic. Consider award of bid and authorizing the city manager to execute the construction contract for the Standpipe Park project and any change orders associated with the contract not to exceed the amount authorized under state law. Mr. Grant.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Appreciate that very much. Before I get started, I want to formally thank you all for coming out to the Heritage Park dedication. Appreciate your attendance and it really went well. So thank you very much for that. Standpipe Park. One of the things I like most about the Standpipe Park, well, similar to Heritage Park, where this, what I like most about what the city's done is they've taken a piece of land that is served a purpose, Leon Valley Golf Course, for years. It outlived its purpose, and now the city has taken that property and purposed it for 100 years or something to be a park. Similar to the Standpipe Park. Back early 1900s, it's been in the city's possession for that many years with the Standpipe. And now we're going to attempt to repurpose it for another city park. So I think that's great what the city's doing. So we'll move forward. Apologize, Matt's not here. I did get permission from him to share this. This is probably the last time we're going to see this photograph that Matt put together. He's missing out on a little bit of stuff, but anyhow, the vision right here. Last time we saw this picture, they were commenting about how large the dogs were and that it was probably not to scale. And I thought that when I saw Chief Bird's dogs. I think it works. I think Matt was right on target with
I've
this.
been on the council almost a year, and every time I've seen this, I've been promised it was the last time I'd see it.
Well, I won't share it again. I promise you that.
It's gonna go on as a mural out
It,
there.
it may
We
be.
need to have this when we start doing the work.
We're talking about a mural at one of the parks. That might be a good thing for that. So anyhow, a recap. Just kind of to bring you up to speed of where we're at. In 2022, the city applied for the Texas Parks and Wildlife Grant, which we were awarded. And then the city allocated another 900 from the ARPA, the Community Aid Fund, to the funds, and 120 from the TERS Fund was added. In May of 2023, the council authorized a couple of landscape architects to design the Standpipe Park. And in January 2023, the council approved the city reject the first bids that came in because they were over budget. And then April 11th, we just opened the second attempt and opened the bids again. And we're very pleased to bring this to your attention. So we're going to go right to that to talk about the bids. In the redesign of this to go out for the second bid, there were a lot of ad alternates. It goes A through J. Now, there was a lot. A and B was the base bid of this project, and that was the civil and the landscaping part of it. That's what's getting awarded, and we are adding in the ad alternates of D, G, and H. So we can go through that real quick what those are. The civil and landscape support A and B. Alternate D is a loop sidewalk. So I can show you that real quick. This looped sidewalk right here and that section right there, that's at alternate D. And then the standpipe restoration is G, and the standpipe lighting and the pavilion lighting is H. That's what we're asking to the city's approval on tonight. There are site furnishings at alternate C, E, F, I, and J. We are choosing not to add into this bid. And the site furnishings, the city feels that they can handle that on their own at a little less than half the cost of what is being proposed.
Can I ask?
Yeah, I believe it's 4 feet, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know that. Yeah, I think there's some of it's 4, some of it's 5. And then there's a add alternate of a stone wall. This little walkway, right, the stone wall right here, and this one right here, and that right here. That's included in the bid, the A and B. If you remember took it standpipe down by the fishing pier, it looks like that wall. That's what that is.
Oh, that's
With that's the wall that's included in the bid. The add alternate F is a 2x2 by 4 foot stone blocks, which were considerably higher. And so that's what that is. And then the other I and J are add alternates. A little bit of, if this was not moved, that would be one of the items and I wouldn't take. And then there's oops, I don't know what I did there. Oh, help me out here. You got me. Thank you there. Appreciate that. And then this add alternate J, which was the last one, is some stonework along. There were some steps and stuff, and they were right here. Right there. There were some steps and stuff in that that did not. We're choosing not to add that into the bid. So our recommendation is for the authors to execute a construction contract for the Standpipe Park project and any changes associated with the contract not to exceed the amount authorized by state law. So we can talk a little bit about this. It's important to note that all of the Texas Park and Wildlife agreements are being addressed in this. Concrete sidewalks, parking spaces. As you can see, we have 12 here, 7 over here, and another 12 up here. All these trees are being added all the way around here. These trees are existing and they're going to stay. And there's a number of trees. A butterfly garden up around the standpipe. The open space right here, this is an irrigated practice soccer field that's being added. And then this area over here is just going to be open space. And then right here, this is big enough for a baseball practice field and some more soccer practice fields here. And of course, the standpipe restoration is included in this bid, and the previous bid was not included. And then the standpipe lighting.
Standpipe will look like after that restoration's done. I've just lost track of this. The exterior will be painted.
I don't know if it's going to be painted or not. So.
Yeah, we understand the work that Apollo did originally was the company who came out to assess it. I think it's replastering, basically remortaring the entire, and it will keep a consistent look of what's already there. It won't be painted bright white or anything like that. It'll be consistent with what's existing right now, the color wise.
Historic brown.
Does David's beacon light make it on
Maybe
top?
maybe a little fresher than historic brown.
There's definitely lights included in that, and that's
like shine down or
shine down. Shine down, and there'll be color changing, so they can change. We change colors. We can change them to purple for UMHB game and for Tiger games, and red and green for Christmas as well.
I remember when it was brand new, it was a nice limestone color.
So your age a little bit there.
On the first Arbor Day.
What's the back in 18? Yeah, they all were together.
What's the playground surface?
The playground surface is
Concrete.
pretty sidewalk that goes through it, but it's
Heavy broom. Heavy broom.
Chocolate tire.
it is artificial turf.
Yeah.
So like the Heritage Park.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it 80? Will it be 88?
Mhm.
That's oh sweet.
Yeah, sure will.
Cool.
One of the neat things about this, we have chosen to pull the ground and the rest out of the
Mhm.
contract, and then the city buy that through the Buy Board Corporation to put it in without the contractor markup. So we can certainly add that in towards the end of the project. And what I like about adding the restroom to this park right here, we have a lot of open spaces and a lot of our smaller parks around, but they're not using them to practice on because there's no restroom there. So this will actually address one of that. And by this type of restroom, it'll give us a prototype to whether or not we want to add these to some of the other parks to help utilize some of that open space that's not being utilized now. All right. And I'd be happy to answer your questions. John, our civil's here. We also have Donna James from TTG's here as well. And Cubby's not, he had a family emergency, wasn't able to attend it. So if you have a landscape question, John said he'd make something up for you.
All right. Any other comments or questions for
I
Jane?
think you need to go back to that one slide one more time. So I see it back.
The first picture real quick.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we can definitely do that. I-
Clear it up by making up an imaginary meeting outside. I knew it was
Just
gonna-
to avoid.
Definitely the last time,
I
right?
know that we have public records, but I would love for this just to be destroyed, not to be seen ever again.
We talked about painting this on the standpipe.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's an idea. It's a
Yeah.
mural.
Is there always a
Nine
motion?
docs,
City's
yeah.
next mural.
Yeah.
I would love to make, oh, are you gonna ask questions?
Yeah.
Or whatnot?
Anybody have any questions?
Nobody's asked.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we approve item number 9 as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the standpipe project. Any other comments or questions before we vote on it? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Last item, number 10, consider authorizing the city manager to execute a professional services agreement with KPA engineers for the design of the South Canal Street reconstruction and drainage improvements project. All right.
Good evening, Mayor, Council.
All right.
Glad to be back up here to present a project again to y'all. Thank you, thank you. This is going to be the South Canal Street Reconstruction and Drainage Improvements Design Services Phase Project. Basically, this is a 1 mile stretch of what we consider county condition roadway, predominantly 22 foot in width in most sections. And our objective is to bring it to city standards and as a 4-lane major collector roadway. With that said, normally our design standards is a 80-foot right of way, 4-lane undivided roadway, curb and gutter, and 5-foot sidewalks on both sides. Have a little drone footage here. Want to kind of let y'all see. Get that baby blind here. Just want to kind of give you some thoughts and details through here. The 22-foot section you can see here. Another area that some issues with is trees in the right of way, of course, dry utilities in the right of way. But you can also see to your right, a lot of open land, which is going to develop in the near future. Right here, I'm going to stop this a second. Development has already happened where they already had some street improvements. So you can already see the road there and somewhat what this will detail in the future. Once again, open property to the right along the east section. Another big factor of this is the drainage that you see there is a Miller Heights drainage basin. And that basically goes from the jail complex, so in Loop 121, all the way across to Miller Heights subdivision. So it's a pretty good and design elements in this will detail a lot of that too, with maybe what will happen with this and future culvert systems. And continue through here also just kind of gives you a little bit of some visual defects in the roadway when you're looking here. You can see patches in the roadway from a lot of just failures that we've had in this road for a long time. We do have some design considerations also when it gets to Avenue O. I won't make you watch the whole video and go through that whole episode there, but there are a lot of factors as you see here with potholes, with just patches of the roadway that needs to be corrected. With that said here, as mentioned with the Miller Heights drainage, there's some storm sewer and culvert improvements needed that will be through this project with the design. Dry utility relocations, like I mentioned, also you have electric, you have fiber, you have natural gas, you have AT&T. This picture here kind of details that out where you've got the dry utilities that will be a factor in this project. We had 7 firms submit requests for proposals on this project. Out of those 7 firms, it was a KPA, Turley, MRB Group, Half and Associates, Collier's Engineering and Design, Clark and Associates, and Walter P. Moore. And some of these were, within the state of Texas here, not just locally. Had a scoring committee that we put together to go through these RFPs. And that included city manager Sam Listy, Matt Bates, Amy Casey, Mike Rogers, and myself. Top 3 firms were chosen for oral presentations, and those top 3 were KPA, Half and Associates, and Turley and Associates. All 3 of these firms did an excellent professional job at their oral presentations. You couldn't speak highly enough of each one of them. but the one that stood out to all of the scoring panelists were KPA, and that was due to their approach to the design, their project methodology, which basically included scope and quality of the project, and their problem solving that they brought to it with several variety of instances that they brought to our attention throughout the interview. So that's where we decided to KPA at that point. Design services proposal through this was wanted to just kind of highlight a couple of them through here. Project surveys, basically existing right-of-way and determining additional right-of-way needs for that price of $94,000, and the categorical exclusion assessment, basically environmental review and assessment of process in order to get state and federal funding. It is an archaeological study, species analysis, freshwater mussel survey and assessment. That's just to name a few of them. So it is our recommendation that we authorize the city manager to execute the professional services agreement with KPA. And I'd be happy to answer any questions if you may have them.
Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome.
Any comments or questions?
You've obviously been very thorough. I love KPA. They've always done us great jobs. I did notice that they've just gotten some very large contracts from some other folks, including the neighboring city of Temple. We're satisfied they've got the capacity to do it in a timely manner.
And my apologies too. I did forget to mention that John Simchick with KPA is over here. So if y'all had any questions for John also, my apologies.
Okay, very good. Good answer.
I'd like to move we approve the contract with KPA.
Second. Motion a second to approve the contract for Connell Street with KPA. Any other comments or questions?
Yes, one. Sorry, John.
Yep.
What will this
Good.
text doc's unknown for the interchange? How much could that impact where this connection is to 14?
To 14.
It's unknown.
I mean, we feel.
I think if you're alluding to the expansion project, they have the flyover south. I don't believe that this would impact Avenue O's intersection, although it is a focus of the design to make sure that that Connell Avenue, it's not good now, needs to be improved. I think that will happen.
We're confident Connell's staying through that.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think that's not part of the 500 feet.
Yeah, I just want, well, but I'm. Okay. Move up to make people go.
Legitimate question. We're asking that on all the projects that are coming forward now.
All right. Any other comments, questions? All right. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right.
Mayor, may I make one last comment? And just a thank you to Sam, Matt, James, everyone involved in the Heritage Park expansion, from council, even past councils, all the way back to Mickey Wade and everybody else who had the original vision for that park. It was really a beautiful day and a proud moment in the history of this city, I think. So I'd like to applaud everyone that was involved in that project. Y'all did a great job.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that
Thank
park
you.
is 1/5 the size of Central Park, and we're not 1/5 the size of New York City.
Hey.
So it's a large park for a small community. It's a great thing. Thank you, Wayne. All right, we stand adjourned.